Welcome back. So it is now December, which means the countdown to Christmas is officially on, and it is day one of the Advent calendar. If you're, of course, doing Advent calendar going all the way to Christmas. But on day one of this Advent calendar, I present you a News of the Week episode that happened in the past week in MLS. And as I said before, as we get closer to the end of the season, and once MLS Cup is going to be over, I'm going to be doing a News of the Week episode pretty much twice a week because usually in the off season this is when there are a lot of transfer rumors and a lot of signings and some blockbuster move that is made around the league, and in some way it's kind of started to already kick off in these last couple of days too, especially on the coaching realm, because there was actually a rumor today that FC Cincinnati is reported to target Philadelphia Union head coach Jim Curtin. Now, the only way I can think this, of course, makes sense is, Chris Albright being a former Union front office person and being a technical director after coming to Cincinnati. He maybe was thinking about bringing his buddies along from the Union to join him to FC Cincinnati. But besides that, that's kind of the only way that I think Jim Curtin could potentially go to Cincinnati, because when you look at what Jim Curtin has done with the Philadelphia Union and how he really likes the club and like the city that he is in, this wouldn't make any sense if he decided to leave that all behind and decided to join a Cincinnati team that is going to be blowing up for the third time and trying to restart for the fourth year in a row. And it just, again, just doesn't make sense if that, of course, is the case. But nevertheless, we'll see how it is going to turn out. And, if Cincinnati does get Jim Curtin, that will definitely be a great hiring, and certainly a way for them to finally get their chances to maybe be a respectable MLS team for once. But obviously, I will be shocked if this does happen, because, like I said, Jim Curtin, he means a lot to the Union and certainly to the Union fan base. He loved the team so much, and it just does not make sense if he decide to make a move now. Another head coach that is rumored to coach an MLS team is Juan Osorio. Remember him coaching with the Mexican national team? And it seems like, from what I hear from Mexican fans, they hated this guy, and the fact that he actually coached this team into the World Cup, and the fact that they kind of did relatively well was a bit of a surprise. Though that being said, again, a lot of Mexican fans hated him with the tactics and that he's been using, and unsurprisingly, he was eventually being fired by the Mexican national team. Well, now it seems like there is a rumor that he could be linked with the LAFC job. Now, from what I heard from LAFC fans, they do not like this move. And it's understandable because, Juan Carlos Osorio, when you look at his time with the Mexican national team, it was definitely a rocky kind of time, and that there's times where Mexico was definitely not living up to its expectation. And there's also no doubt that, if you ask LAFC fans, who would they want in terms of a head coach that have coached for the Mexican national team? Do they want Juan Carlos Osorio, or maybe the current head coach of the Mexican national team that is under a lot of heat, that is Tata Martino? They will definitely choose Tata. And I think in some way they're just kind of waiting for El Tri to eventually fire Tata Martino, which I'm kind of surprised El Tri hasn't done so, because it's been a disastrous calendar year for the Mexican national team, losing to the U.S. three times in a calendar year, and just getting embarrassed in terms of the way how their World Cup qualifier has started. I mean, getting embarrassed by Canada in that game in Edmonton. I thought that was really the final straw for him to get fired from the Mexican national team, but for some reason he is still there. And I just feel like eventually LAFC just kind of playing the waiting game, because let's be honest, a lot of team right now, they want Tata Martino to be back in MLS. They saw what he did with Atlanta United, and they know that, of course, it will work out. And it also makes sense that Tata would go to LAFC, because he loves to play attacking soccer, and that's what LAFC always pride themselves. They want to be the most entertaining team in the league, and it just makes perfect sense if he goes there rather than getting Juan Carlos Osorio. That definitely does not really fit of what LAFC is trying to do. Now, Bruce Arena, he actually talked about something very interesting after his press conference after that loss against NYCFC, where he basically said that, he's still uncertain in terms of his future with the Revs. Now, I know a lot of Revs fans are panicking right now because of the way that, Bruce Arena leaves, and not to mention the fact that some of their best player like Tajon Buchanan is leaving for Belgium, and there could be a case that even some of their big player like Adam Buksa could also be leaving off to Europe, and that things are going to be a bit of a disastrous off season for the Revs. I just want you to know that I don't think Bruce Arena's contract ends after this season, and there could be always a case that he could stay for another year. But you can definitely see that Bruce Arena. You gotta remember, he is gonna turn 70 heading into next season, and usually when you're a head coach up to that age, that's kind of the time where you're definitely thinking about your future in terms of part of the game, and maybe it's time to kind of step away from the game. And Bruce Arena did kind of promise the Revs that eventually they are going to guide this team to the promised land, and they came close last year, making it to the conference final, and then of course this year they got bitten by the Supporter Shield curse, and I do feel like he is going to probably stay for this team and fulfill that promise. But there's no doubt that if the Revs does win MLS Cup next season, I won't be surprised Bruce Arena will walk away from coaching, and that he wants to finish his coaching career on the top. It's been just such a legendary coaching career that Bruce Arena has had, and I'll be surprised if he decided to maybe announce his retirement after such a disappointing way that this season of course ended for the Revs in terms of his coaching career, of getting his team a Supporter Shield only to getting knocked out in the first playoff game that they played. Now, one head coach or one team that of course have hired their head coach from this week is the Vancouver Whitecaps, and to no one's surprise, they hired Vinny Sartini as their head coach. I mean, honestly, I don't really need to say much about this. You knew that they were going to hire Vinny Sartini with the run that they were in to make it to the playoffs, and now I'm really excited to see how this is going to work out for the Whitecaps, especially his press conference. I love his press conference and the sense of humor that he does bring, and that's kind of something that the Whitecaps has been desperately looking for a very long time. And now that he is going to be the head coach, I think there's going to be a good things that's going to be happening to this Whitecaps team. Like, if Whitecaps fans are already excited about the future of this team after the good run they had, wait until next year, where I really think this team can really make the next step and really start to finally come out at the end of the tunnel of this long rebuild that they've been going through for the past couple of years. Now, moving on in terms of now talking about players, after we kind of talk a couple of news that involve some head coach that potentially is going to be becoming a new head coach in MLS, or in the case of the last news, we did had a head coach that was kind of an interim head coach but become a permanent head coach. Now we're going to talk about players, and that again throughout this offseason you're going to get a lot more of these news where we're going to see some blockbuster trading, kind of maybe some surprising player that is going to be leaving their team. And the first thing I also kind of want to mention is that every team that has been eliminated from the playoffs have announced their end of season roster move. Obviously the deadline was November 30th, but some teams did kind of win past the deadline a little bit and only announced it until today in December 1st. And I'm not going to go into talk about every single team and looking at their end of season roster. I'll probably save that for the moving forward series, or maybe even do when I do the season preview of every single team heading into January. But there's definitely some interesting names in terms of players that is not going to be returning for their team, and there's even some rumors out there with some star players that kind of surprisingly decided to leave their team. Although the first news that we're going to talk about that's kind of related to that is Atlanta United, who GM Carlos Bocanegra did talk about George Bello's future, and also mentioned about that they need to also add some more veteran piece to really guide them back to the MLS Cup contender that they are. Now, in terms of Bello's future, I won't be surprised he would be sold off this winter, because George Bello has had an incredible season, certainly a breakout season this year, and that there's been a lot of clubs in Europe that is definitely looking to trying to get him, and it's going to be interesting to see, with Atlanta United, knowing they have a history of selling their young talented player for a big sum of money. this could be the same case for George Bello. Now, in terms of adding more veteran pieces, this is kind of interesting because Atlanta United has always been a team that is kind of the standards in terms of starting this trend where a lot of these teams go down to South America and find these hidden gems before sending them off for a big money move. But, you know, with this kind of talks from their current GM, this kind of maybe a sense that, you know, they might think about just adding not only just continue to do what they always do, but maybe add some more veteran pieces, maybe guys that is within MLS that they know that are proving MLS player that can get the job done. I mean, they already done it before in some of the signings that they had. I mean, remember when they got Brooks Lennon, who I thought he was definitely a player that could be the next best thing, and he had an incredible year this season for Atlanta United. So don't be surprised that this Atlanta team, you know, not only the fact that they're going to continue to spend money to get these young talented player. I mean, I know that they do have one a very talented player coming down from South America and especially from Argentina that is going to be joining this team this offseason. I forgot who exactly. I think was it that guy called Thiago that he was gonna join him. I might have actually got his name wrong, but I know that they of course signed a very talented player down in South America, but that player is not going to be joining until the 2022 MLS season. But nevertheless, don't be surprised, Atlanta might be even thinking about trying to get some more MLS proven player to get themselves back to the MLS Cup contender that they of course was a couple of years ago. Now, moving on to probably the biggest news coming out of today, and probably the most surprising news coming out of today, is that there's a report that Raul Ruidiaz is not coming back to the Seattle Sounders. He says that, you know, well, at least in the reports, it says that he is actually unhappy with the Seattle Sounders, and he's willing to leave this offseason, which kind of shocks a lot of people, including myself, because I remember, I think, a couple of News of the Week episode before I talked about there was a rumor that Raul Ruidiaz could be going back to Liga MX. I thought that was just kind of one of those crazy Mexican media gossip that talks about MLS player coming to the league, and it just doesn't kind of work out whatsoever. But now all of a sudden it seems like this could potentially be the case, and again, I was kind of surprised how Ruidiaz was not happy with the Sounders, or at least if this report is correct, because with the way that he's been playing this season, it seems like he's happy to stay with the team. And you gotta also remember his contract doesn't end until next season, I believe. So I was thinking he was going to stay with this team for sure heading into next year, but now it seems like that's not going to be the case. And if that is not going to be the case, then that's a huge blow to the Seattle Sounders, because Ruidiaz has been so much, especially going for on the attack. And that, you know, we talk about why the Seattle Sounders is a good team. Well, you know, not only the fact that they have a completely difference maker in that number 10 position in Nicholas Ladero, but they also have a guy called Raul Ruidiaz that, you know, every single team that has dreamed to have a number 9 that can be a lethal goal scorer, that's what Ruidiaz of course is. And even though he is starting to getting up to that age, he is still scoring goals at a rate where he is kind of like the Robert Lewandowski of this league. And it's kind of surprised the fact that he is not going to be come back. Though again, you know, if you're a Sounders fan, don't panic just yet. This is just a report. This might not be true whatsoever, but if it is true, then that would definitely be a move that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. There was also a report suggesting that Toronto FC have not reached a contract agreement with Ayo Akinola. Now, Ayo Akinola is another player that has been linked with a lot of team in Europe. And, you know, this season it has definitely been a rough year for him, battling with injuries and haven't been able to stay healthy. But there's no doubt that the talent is there. I mean, I saw it when he came into the league, where he really liked this league in fire. And that we thought that he was going to be kind of like the next best thing, not only with the U.S. men's national team, but now with him changing his legion to represent Canada, he could look like was the next best thing for the Canadian national team. But like I said, injuries really started to set back his career, but that doesn't mean that, you know, those European teams are looking to trying to get him. And again, you know, for TFC, if they don't reach a contract agreement with them, they probably will have to sell him off for free, and that would be such a painful way to him go off to Europe because you develop such a good young talented player, and you have a chance to sell them all for amount of money, and now it seems like that's not going to be the case, and that letting him go for free is just going to be that definitely doesn't really make much sense if they want to maybe get some money off of their young talented player. But we'll see whether or not if that is going to be the case, and we'll see whether or not if they're going to continue to reach a contract agreement with him. Now, one player that have reached a contract agreement is Dclair, who have signed a new 3-year contract with Minnesota United. And I've said it before, I think Dclair is definitely going to be the future goalkeeper for this Minnesota team. I mean, I know in the beginning of the season it was kind of a disastrous stretch, and he eventually kind of got benched in favor of Tyler Miller. Miller this season, I've said before, where he had a good start to the season, at least in the first half of the season, but in the second half of the season he started to become a little bit shaky. And I know there's also some Loons fans saying, well, is this the end of Tyler Miller? No, this is not the end of Tyler Miller. Like, unless if they decide to trade him to another team, he still have another year in his contract, and he is of course guaranteed to be in this roster next year. So unless again if they decide to trade him to another team, I think Dclair is still just going to be the backup goalkeeper. And that again, I know Tyler Miller was a little bit shaky down the stretch, but I trust the fact that he still got it, and that Dclair, his time is going to eventually come. I mean, we saw what he had, and that there's definitely some raw potential that he could be a MLS goalkeeper of the year caliber of a goalkeeper, with the way that he was making some great goalkeeping performance during that run of this team moving to the Western Conference Final two years ago. But like I said, this is just a contract just to show that they know that he is going to be the future, and eventually if they do decide to move on from Tyler Miller, he's going to be definitely the guy to step in to be a great goalkeeper for this team. Now, one player that is not going to be returning for their team is Nani. Now, I think a lot of people have already known this. This is technically kind of old news, as it actually happened on Thursday. And this is also why, in the offseason, I am making making 2 News of the Week episode per week, because sometimes when you have some new big news that came out right after when I do a News of the Week episode, I have to wait until a couple of days after that. And in this case, I was definitely tempting to make an individual video talking about this, but yeah, this was definitely a move that, well, I wouldn't say it surprised a lot of people, because Nani was definitely getting up to that age, and down the stretch you can definitely see Orlando City was kind of using him more as a super sub, as his legs was kind of start to run out, and eventually they decided to kind of cut ties with him this offseason. Though that being said, I think the one thing I'm kind of surprised that they decided not to do is maybe keep him one more year, and maybe use him as a super sub role, because we know Nani can be a game changer even at the age that he is in, and he has shown it throughout this season. But doesn't seem like that is going to be the case. And now I just wonder for Nani, it's going to be interesting to see where he's going to go next. We'll see whether or not if he decided to go back to his boyhood club, or the fact that he decided to just kind of hang up his boots. And if he does decide to do that, what a career that Nani has had, not only with Orlando City, but he was definitely considered one of the best player in the world during his prime, and he pretty much have won everything that needs to be win in the club level. I mean, he won the Champions League, he won a Premier League with Man United, and it's kind of unfortunate that he never really got a lot of achievement with Orlando City, but that's kind of the way it is, especially with the way that nowadays, in terms of how MLS is in a 3.0 era, you usually don't see these kind of famous European superstar player coming to this league and immediately win some trophy like we see in the MLS 1.0 era. Remember how when David Beckham went to this team, and how he was able to win trophy even though he was like in his last couple of years of his career? Yeah, we just don't see that happen. And it's just to show you another example that MLS is not a retirement league right anymore, and that it is now truly a league that is selling some talent and really kind of the destination for a lot of these big European teams to trying to look in this league as a way to not only get some good young talent, but getting some good young talent in a relatively cheap price. Now, moving on, in terms of the last news, Walker Zimmerman, of course, has named Defender of the Year for the second year in a row. Now, I know Walker Zimmerman had a great year with Nashville, and he was once again at the centerpiece of this Nashville defense being as tough as nails again. But I'm kind of surprised that he actually won it for the second year in a row. Consider there was actually a lot of defenders that could have won this award, and one defender I can think of right away that probably should have won this award and maybe got robbed in terms of this award is Yeimar. I mean, I'm surprised how, with the season that Yeimar has had and how he has really stabilized that backline and was at the centerpiece of that Sounders backline that has been really sturdy throughout the entire of the season. I'm surprised he didn't end up winning this whole thing. I mean, he was one of the finalists, but I thought he was going to win the whole thing. I would have had him win the whole thing if I did do that end of the season award, which, by the way, I was going to do it, but then I realized that by the time those end of the season award actually awarded, there was really no point of me doing it because, I'll be just saying, well, this player won the award, but I would rather have them winning it, and it just kind of doesn't make it like a very, very entertaining video, unless you guys still want to see an end of the season award that then I, of course, will definitely make one after MLS Cup is over. But again, for Walker Zimmerman, certainly congratulations of him winning Defender of the Year for the second year in a row, but he's definitely not a player that I thought would have won this award. Now, a player that I think definitely deserved to win the next award is the MLS Humanitarian Player of the Year, and this year, for the second year in a row, goes to Justin Morrow, and unsurprisingly, because he is kind of part of that founder of the Black Player Coalition in MLS, and just a reminder of the issue that we've been dealing with in this country, and certainly what has gone on in these past couple of years, and I also feel like this is a good send off for Justin Morrow to win this award, knowing the fact that he has done not only become such a good player in MLS, but he has done so much in the community and has changed this league in a humanitarian kind of way, and it's a good send off the fact that he, of course, win this award as he hang up his boots after this season. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these news, and as always, if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.